Hello everyone, my name is Derek Todd from Deaf Scotland. Welcome along today. We've got a guest with us, as you may see. Please introduce yourself. Thank you, Derek. My name is Ian Galloway. I'm the Head of Operations at Lanarkshire Deaf Club. Fantastic, Ian. Thanks very much for joining us today. It's Ian, that's the sign name. That's right, Derek. Brilliant. I really appreciate your time in joining us. So, I'd like to talk to you about the 5-year anniversary of the BSL Scotland Act 2015. Can you believe it? 5 years already. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Firstly, what's your involvement been in the draft of the BSL bill or the development of that? Maybe it's the linguistic aspects of it, the national or local authority plans. What involvement have you had? Yeah, so I was really pleased, that we're in this stage now of having the bill as an act, and you're right, I can't believe it. 5 years. How successful it's going to be, I'm not sure now's the time to judge that. I know that there's still a lot of people or places that are not fully aware of the act and the powers that it has. I meet people all the time, and there's still people that I come across that aren't aware of it or maybe are slightly unsure of it. So I think it's crucial that we continue. We keep raising that awareness, and I teach BSL as well, and I tell the students that there is an act that's been passed in 2015, and they all seem very supportive of that. So that's a little bit of awareness raising there as well, and it's good to build that rapport. Sometimes we discuss these things during the break, and it's a good conversation starter. So I have to say, within the deaf community themselves, there are some, don't get me wrong, there's positives, there's a lot of positives, and it was an emotional day, but change isn't going to happen overnight. It's taking time, and that's what we've noticed, and I can't believe it's been the 5 years already. So yeah, and what's your involvement though, like pre the bill being passed? What kind of involvement have you had maybe in gathering feedback from the deaf community, or what about your old work to the current role you're in? How much involved have you been in the campaigning side of things like that? Were you interested or not? Yeah, so just the same as everybody else, really. I started off in the same boat. I had the same information, but it wasn't until really after the act was passed where I was more confident to raise issues or challenge things, maybe at a council level, etc. So it's certainly been a confidence booster for myself after the bill's been passed, and I feel like this is a good way to move on. Are we finished yet? Absolutely not. We want to keep going and keep that positivity. So yeah, just more of the same. Ian, you may remember Thursday the 17th of September 2015 then. That's obviously the day that the bill was passed. Where were you on that day? Were you in Parliament or were you at home? Aye, Derek, I was in Edinburgh. I was up in the gallery looking down in the MSPs, and Nicola Sturgeon was talking, and when everybody took their seats, I remember the minute that it was passed, there must have been about 1,000 people there all roaring and cheering, and the MSPs looked up with a smile on their face, which is rare. So we were all there giving all our support, and the goosebumps were there. The hairs were standing, that's for sure. And everybody that I spoke to that day were just all ecstatic. We've all suffered in many ways in the past, and we feel like this is finally a breakthrough. And it started with Mark Griffin MSP, who managed to get the bill recognised, put through Parliament, and thankfully passed. So, as I said before, this isn't the kind of end of it. Maybe I'll be an old man by the time that we get equal equality, or I might not be here. Who knows? No, listen, you've got a good point there. And when you mentioned about Mark Griffin MSP, one of your local MSPs as well, that's where you should have that connection with Mark, and I'm sure you feel very proud that he's covering your area. So you're right, there was loads of moments where the hairs were standing on my arms, and trying to recognise that this is a historic moment. There was people that were shedding tears. There was people that couldn't quite believe that it's a law here in Scotland now. And we have to give that reassurance. Some were still a bit doubtful even after that. So I'm sure you and your members at your deaf club, I mean, what was their kind of feedback? Did they understand? That's a great question, Derek. Yeah, thanks for asking that one. So we have meetings quite regularly, and we obviously spoke about what had happened that day. And after the meeting, when we were talking about it, they were all sharing information, via text, FaceTime, and just so happy that it's been approved. And it felt like the negative days were all behind us, and we went on for quite a while talking about it, probably about 4 to 6 weeks before the kind of spotlight dimmed. But we still now, have that confidence of going to the council or challenging an organisation and using the bill as a good tool to do that. Now, the deaf community is a small world, so messages travel quite fast. And I'm sure, Ian, once that was passed, it gave some of your members some confidence, I guess. Gave them maybe some motivation to go ahead and sort out some issues on their own, or make some inquiries, knowing that they can contact the council and have that support, or other things. And I know that within Lanarkshire Deaf Club, you provide all sorts of support there as well. Yeah, totally agree, Derek. Yeah, absolutely. We, prior to the bill, we're always saying, if you need any information, contact us. We can help you translate with things. It can be small, minor things like contacting utilities and so on. And a lot of people do contact us, and we have to try and keep it as private as we can. And we provide interpreters, and deaf people, they just built the confidence. And ever since the bill's been put through, more and more people know, they can get that support. And it can be just, somebody who's maybe on their own, whether their parents have passed or not, they can come to us for that support. And there's other places we can signpost to, such as Coatbridge Deaf Club. So, and there's a lot of people that are in very difficult situations. So the bill certainly helped them all. Brilliant, Ian. Well, I mean, fast forward 5 years, we're now in 2020 already. What's the 5-year journey meant to you then so far? What kind of impact has it had on you? Has it changed anything? Is it positive, negative? Yeah, good question. What I will say, I've noticed in the past when I was campaigning for things, it was very difficult. I wouldn't say that I'm stressed, but I felt kind of frustrated at times, After 2015, when the bill was approved, it wasn't all, clear skies after that. There was still some issues that came up, maybe like rent related, for example. People within those organisations started to recognise that there was a bill there. They have to work with us. We get a wee bit more respect treated to us, and that helped our confidence big time. And one of our staff made some phone calls, where we were able to finally, in the past we would have struggled to get through to somewhere, we could get through now. And there was a lot of learning that had to happen during that time. And meetings happened, more things were discussed, more areas were looked into to how we can take advantage of that knowledge. And that's from both sides, the deaf community and hearing people. It was about getting them together and working together. So I still do that now. Every 2 weeks we have meetings, and I go and meet various people. And again, it's about confidence building with each other. And it's not just about going there and flying the flag for us. It's about awareness raising. We share information, we exchange that, and we treat each other equally. And that's what we want. We don't want a deaf world and a hearing world treating each other differently. It has to be an equal partnership, and that seems to be working so far. Wow. And do you feel like your relationship buildings are just improving with them, with councils, NHS Lanarkshire, for example? Is your relationship getting better? What about like staff and stuff? How's that? All of the above, yeah. Council here, the NHS, everybody, the relationships are getting far better. And some conversations we've had are very interesting. I mean, prior to the bill, there was no awareness whatsoever. And now we're in 2020, and in those short years, there's already been some change. I would say maybe the last 2-3 years, it's started to look a lot better. Fantastic. So, I mean, yeah, we've spoke about the past and now at 2020, but let's look ahead to the future. What would you like to see happening next? That's also a good question, Derek. Well, going ahead, I've been thinking about something for maybe about 12 years now, a bit of a dream of mine. I wanted to have my own community centre. It was just an ambition at the time. I actually drew up, all the plans for it, just in case that day was to come. It was very difficult, as you can imagine, to get some funding. And then when we set up this community centre we're currently in, which at the time was just a Saturday, and it was like a social club. That's all it was. It was a social club. We must have started about 5 or 6 years ago. About 6 years ago, we finally moved to the community centre. When going back to that old place, it's just, it's now our own place. It feels like it's every day. It's 7 days a week we've got access in comparison to before, where we only had the Saturday. We've got our own office. I felt so proud. I took ownership of the place. I encouraged the community, regardless of their level, to come along and take advantage of it. And we've got 350 members and 80 children. So I couldn't be more proud of where we are now. But we realise that in time things are going to grow and get better and better. We've got one person there, Rachel, who helps with the youngsters, and a great advocate, a great role model there to ask questions to, and just have that relationship with. So, and I get involved as much as I can as well, and the club's just going from strength to strength. Unfortunately, with the coronavirus, we've had to take a wee step back at the moment. We go along to so we go along to Meals on Wheels type of service. I use my van to go out and hand over some food, or if I make something up, like boxes of soup, for example, we'll go along and, sometimes you want to go along and have a chat, but you realise you've got other people to go and visit. You've got a short window and you would love to stay and chat. Sometimes it takes us between 5 and 6.5 hours to get around everybody. There's a lot of people out there on their own. So, and about 4 weeks ago, we finished that. But it wasn't until we got some funding approved, which means we can do that again, which I'm absolutely buzzing for. So I think it's next Monday. We're getting 25 people to visit, and it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be great. Wow, Ian, where do you find the time? You're a busy man. You're running the centre. You've got staff to overlook, and plus you're going out to the community and meeting people in their own homes and handing over food. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't take that away from you. I mean, the member numbers as well, that's huge. Absolutely, Derek. I mean, don't get me wrong, initially it was me cooking away here, slaving over the stove to get the food ready. But after we got the new funding, particularly because it is a lot of vulnerable people out there on their own, I think that helped us get the funding. We get the food delivered to us now. So, and it's all named, it's organised well for each individual person. And we give 3 different types of food packages out, and it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it starting on Monday. Congratulations on the funding there, Ian, and I think you're correct. Vulnerable people there, it's crucial that they're not left behind, particularly during a global pandemic like what we're facing now. It's heartbreaking to see that there's people out there, and hopefully it goes well. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you, with funding, whether it be from government level or what, a lot of funding opportunities have, closed the door, and that's something I've realised. For us to get staff involved, and we need that funding, we rely on that funding, and we found it just more and more difficult. There's the Cora, they've closed the doors for another 2 years at least, so they won't be helping. We thought it would just be up until September, but it isn't. It got delayed to October, and then we were told, nah, it's the government's kind of aim to, because of the coronavirus, probably save a bit of money there. So, I'd like to ask you, my club and the community that take advantage of that club, and I'm sure other organisations who look after the deaf community, are they all facing the same barriers as we are? We really need to be thinking about mental health here, Derek. It's a massive thing. Well, this is the first time I've been asked a question during one of these interviews. Do you know what? You're right. Particularly with the current climate we're in, it's a massive challenge. You're not the only deaf organisation. Every single organisation is in the same boat. Some have unfortunately had to close down or reduce their capacity or furlough some staff. So I recommend you get in touch with the voluntary Action North Lanarkshire. They'll be able to provide you with some support there, certainly information regarding funding, or be able to signpost you onwards. So there are still some grants available. There are still opportunities there. It's just you have to dig a wee bit deeper for it. So ask your local CVS. Yeah, absolutely. I know of them. I've heard of them, and yeah, I think they want to see me tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10. So that'll be a good opportunity. Absolutely. So let me ask you my final question for today, whether you want to answer it from a personal point of view or a professional point of view. Every day, what can you do to ensure that BSL users are included, treated as equals in society? You know, that includes people like your members. What steps can we take to make sure that every day people are treated equally? Well, Derek, I explained to you before about having, government groups, for example, and having deaf people involved in them. I think we need to look more locally just now. Maybe one or two reps, one from Lanarkshire, one from Coatbridge, for example. We'll bring some people along from Deaf Action, some people from BDA. We need to get everybody around the table and sit down with the government and let them know that discussions are on way, and that we deserve to be treated equally. It's our right to be treated equally, and the government have to respect that. That's the intention here. Whether it be a couple of months down the line of actually brainstorming and coming up with some ideas that would include interpreters, electronic note takers, and showing the government, look, this is how you need to promote it, and having that positive effect on them, like a working relationship. And I've always said that if we can have that working relationship with them at that level, it's got to, be equal. And if it's all separate, things take a lot longer. There's not that respect between everybody, and the equality could be affected there. So yeah, I think going forward, it's about setting up some sort of working group and definitely setting up that relationship with government. Wow, you've gave me some food for thought. Maybe like a networking opportunity where you can bring across all the deaf clubs and deaf organisations, and you're talking about a lot of people. If we had 2 reps from each, absolutely, that could happen. There's no harm in asking, we could ask. Yeah, Derek, hopefully, let's get it started in January. That would be lovely. Or if we need to delay it, then let's do that, but it has to be done. Correct, and I think communication is key to everyone, and making sure that access and information is accessible, making sure we're not duplicating work that's happening as well. You spoke about TV advertising at one point. Do you want to cover that? Yeah, good point. I just wanted to say that sometimes when you're sitting watching television, you'll see the adverts coming on, and they cover various things. I don't know, such as promoting butter, or McDonald's adverts or something like that. When you're watching them, you're going through the adverts and you're thinking, where's the deaf representation within these adverts? Where's the involvement of BSL as well? I would love to see some adverts in BSL, whether it just be, like, for example, the government messages there telling us how to wash our hands and follow the rules. Get it in BSL, or have somebody like the BDA, invest in that advertisement, or Deaf Action or another one. And each advert could, represent each deaf organisation or deaf club. And we could have a few of them thrown in the mix, because it's about raising awareness, and we could put our contact details up there for people to contact us. I think that would be great. Maybe you're right. Maybe Lanarkshire Deaf Club could be the first advert to put on Scottish TV, and you can promote yourselves. You never know, Derek. Never know. Listen, it's a dream that can happen. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely, Derek. That's what I'm saying. The community centre, we want to extend that as well. You know, we want to get bigger. We want to keep growing. Um, that's been an ambition of mine, and hopefully that can happen in the future. I don't want to have a big, giant industrial estate to myself. No, I mean just a smaller kind of community centre that's got that extra room for, you know, if it's raining outside, there's plenty of space for the kids to run around while the adults maybe play a game of bingo. You know, these kind of things. Hopefully we can get that in the future. Brilliant. Thank you, Ian. That's been fantastic. You've really covered a lot, and your community centre is one of a kind. It seems to be really a model to look up to. So thank you, and I really appreciate your time and you know, giving your answers to us here today. Thanks to David for interpreting, providing access into English. So thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you, and to thanks Derek and David. Thanks a lot.